There is a jar sitting on my kitchen counter right now, an old ball mason jar filled with something dark and amber, about the color of strong iced tea. 40 years ago, the men who kept the finest lawns in this country knew exactly what was in a jar like this one. The cemetery groundskeepers knew it, the ball field men knew it. The Amish farmers selling sweet corn at the county market knew it better than anybody. You could mix it from things already in your pantry for about $2, pour it on a tired lawn, and inside 3 weeks that grass would thicken up and green up like somebody flipped a switch. And then it disappeared. Not because it stopped working, my friend, because there is no patent on molasses, and there is no repeat sale in a lawn that fixes itself. The catalogs quietly dropped it, the garden centers never mentioned it, and the bags took over the shelf. Today, I am going to mix it right in front of you, measure by measure. And stay with me all the way to the end, because this only works if it goes down at dusk, never at noon, and the reason why is one specific thing the sun does to what is inside this jar. Nobody ever explains that part, and it decides whether you get a thick green lawn or a jar that did nothing at all. I'm Garry Strickland. I'm 63 years old. I spent my working life as a carpenter, and for better than 30 years, I've kept the same quarter acre in the same Midwest neighborhood. Most of what I know came from an old neighbor of mine named Earl, a World War II veteran who had the thickest lawn on the street and nothing in his shed but a rotary mower and a coffee can of grass seed. The rest came from the old groundskeepers around town, and this particular recipe came to me by way of the man who kept the ball field downtown, who learned it trading with the Amish dairy farmers out in farm country. Now pull up a chair and let me tell you something about that bag sitting in your garage. A homeowner in cool season grass country spends somewhere between $80 and $150 a year on bagged fertilizer. Year after year after year. Every spring, the lawn greens up fast, looks wonderful for about 6 weeks, then fades right back to where it started. So you drive back to the store and buy another bag. That is not bad luck, neighbor. That is the arrangement. A bag of quick-release fertilizer feeds the grass blades directly, the way you'd hand a child a candy bar. Big rush, quick crash, nothing left behind in the ground. The old-timers fed something else entirely, and that difference is the whole secret sitting in this jar. Earl put it to me plain one evening over the fence in his backyard. He said, "Son, you don't feed the grass. You feed the ground, and the ground feeds the grass. Hold on to that, because I will come back to why this jar has to go down at dusk, and it ties straight back to what Earl said. But first, the money, because that is the kind of math the catalogs stopped doing for you. Everything in this recipe comes to right around $2 a batch, and one batch covers about 2,000 square feet of lawn. Now, everything I am about to mix up for you today is written out plain in a little book I put together called The Old Ways. 50 Forgotten Lawn Secrets from America's Greatest Groundskeepers. Over 30 years, Earl and the old fellas around town taught me their small, cheap, patient tricks, and before those men are all gone, I wrote every one of them down in plain English, 104 pages, so a regular homeowner can have the thickest lawn on the block without the wall of bottles and bags. This recipe has its own place in the book, right alongside the soil secrets in part 1 and the yearly pantry tricks that cost pennies. The book is $17 right now, marked down from $47. $17 one time against a $40 bottle you buy every single year. My neighbors used to ask me what lawn service I hire. I hire none, and after this book, neither will you. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time, there is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. All right, my sleeves are rolled up and the jar is on the counter. Let's mix this thing together. The first ingredient is blackstrap molasses, the dark, unsulfured kind from the baking aisle of any grocery store. You want 1 full cup. That is 1 cup, an ordinary measuring cup, level full. Pour it into a clean 1-gallon jug. Now, molasses on a lawn sounds strange until you remember what Earl said about feeding the ground. Your soil is full of living things too small to see. Billions of tiny helpers that break down clippings and old roots and turn them into food your grass can drink up. Molasses is sugar and minerals, and sugar is the fastest meal those little workers can eat. Feed them well, and they multiply, and when they multiply, they release the nitrogen that is already locked up in your soil. The Amish farmers understood that on their pastures long before anybody bottled it. There is a company out there today selling nearly this same idea in a fancy jug for about $30. The pantry version is about $1.50. The second ingredient is Epsom salt, from the drugstore or the grocery store, the plain kind with nothing added. You want half a cup. Half a cup, no more, because more is not better here. Epsom salt is magnesium, and magnesium is what grass uses to build the deep green color in the blade. It is the difference between a lawn that is merely alive and a lawn that folks slow their car down to look at. The third ingredient is plain dish soap, the basic kind, nothing antibacterial and nothing fancy. 1 tablespoon. Just 1 tablespoon. The soap is not food for anything. It simply helps the mixture stick to the blades and soak down through thatch instead of beating up and rolling off. The old greenskeepers used soap flakes for the same job. Now fill the rest of that gallon jug with warm water, cap it, and give it a good slow shake until the molasses lets go of the bottom. Let me gather that back up for you before we go on. 1 cup of blackstrap molasses, half a cup of Epsom salt, 1 tablespoon of plain dish soap, warm water to fill a 1-gallon jug. That gallon is your concentrate, and it is where things get easy. The simplest way to put it down is a hose end sprayer, the kind with a jar that screws onto the end of your garden hose. Most hardware stores carry one for about $20, and it will last you 20 years. Pour the concentrate into the sprayer jar, hook it to your hose, then walk your lawn at a steady, easy pace, sweeping side to side like you're watering flowers until the jar runs dry. 1 gallon of concentrate covers about 2,000 square feet. That is 2,000 square feet, roughly the front yard of an average lot. So a 1/4 acre like mine takes several batches, and mixing them takes 5 minutes each. No sprayer, no trouble. Mix 1 cup of concentrate into a 2-gallon watering can of water and pour it in slow strips. It takes longer, but Earl did it that way his whole life with a dented tin can sprinkler, and his lawn shamed everybody on the street, mine included, for years. Now, here is where most folks go wrong, and it is not the mixing. It is the calendar. This feed goes down once every 3 weeks during the growing season. Every 3 weeks, spring and early fall, when cool season grass is actually growing. Skip the hottest, driest stretch of summer, when the lawn is half asleep and the little workers in the soil are hunkered down. Remember that thing I told you the sun does to this jar? We are getting close to it now, and it is the reason the calendar alone is not enough. Before we get there, let me be straight with you, because the old fellas always were with me. This mixture is a slow, steady feed, not a miracle in a jug. If your lawn is thin, it will thicken. If it is a tired, pale green, it will deepen. You will see the first honest change in about 3 weeks, and the real payoff builds over a season. But it will not raise grass from the dead. It will not fix soil packed hard as a sidewalk all by itself. and anybody who promises you an overnight lawn is selling you the next bottle. The old ways work the way the old timers worked, patiently, cheaply, and for good. And that brings us to the part I promised you at the very start. Why dusk and never noon? Everything in that jar is a meal for living things in your soil. But between the nozzle and the soil, the mixture has to survive the trip. Spray it at noon on a hot day, and the sun goes to work on it immediately. The water flashes off, and that thin film of sugar dries onto the grass blades before it ever washes down to the ground where the workers live. Dried on the blade, it feeds nothing. Worse, a sticky blade baking in direct sun can scorch, the same way a wet leaf can burn under a magnifying glass of droplets. The meal never arrives, and the man who tried it swears the recipe is junk. Now, spray it at dusk and watch what changes. The sun is off the lawn, so nothing dries out. The evening dew comes on and keeps every blade wet for hours, gently rinsing the mixture down through the thatch and into the soil. And down there, in the cool and the damp, those billions of tiny workers feed all night long, undisturbed, turning your $2 mixture into a slow, deep breakfast for your grassroots. The old groundskeepers put this down at supper time every time, and now you know it was never superstition. It was the dew doing half the work for free. That is what Earl meant over the fence. Feed the ground, and the ground feeds the grass. The ground just happens to eat at night, and that right there is exactly the kind of thing the old fellas taught me. The book has 49 more just like it, laid out just as plain. The Old Ways is 104 pages of the small, cheap, patient tricks the old groundskeepers swore by, from feeding the soil in part 1 to the weekly watering and mowing habits in part 2, written down before the men who taught me are all gone. $17 down from $47, and it pays for itself the first time you walk past the fertilizer aisle without stopping. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. So that is the whole thing, neighbor. 1 cup of molasses, half a cup of Epsom salt, 1 tablespoon of soap, a gallon of warm water, down at dusk, every 3 weeks. Now, tell me something in the comments. Did your dad or your grandpa have a lawn trick of his own? Put it down below, because that is exactly the kind of knowledge that gets lost when nobody writes it down, and I read every single one. And come back next time, because I am going to show you the one setting on your mower that the old ball field keeper called the whole ball game, the mistake that quietly undoes everything we did today, and how one small change to the way you mow can cut your watering by a third. Keep that lawn thick and green, my friend, and I'll see you over the fence.